Okay, so this is part 6 of Good Omens. And now it was 3 o'clock. The Antichrist had been on Earth for 15 hours, and one angel and one demon had been drinking solidly for 3 of them. They sat opposite one another in the black room of Aziraphale's dingy old bookshop in Soho. Most bookshops in Soho have back rooms, and most of the back rooms are filled with rare, or at least very expensive, books. But Aziraphale's books didn't have illustrations. They had old brown covers and crackling pages. Occasionally, if he had no alternative, he'd sell one. And occasionally, serious men in dark suits would come calling and suggest, very politely, that perhaps he'd like to sell the shop itself so that it could be turned into the kind of retail outlet more suited to the area. Sometimes they'd offer cash in large rolls of grubby 50-pound notes. Or sometimes, while they were talking, other men in dark glasses would wander around the shop, shaking their heads and saying how inflammable paper was and what a fire trap he had here. And Aziraphale would nod and smile and say that he'd think about it, and they'd go away, and they'd never come back. Just because you're an angel doesn't mean you have to be a fool. The table in front of the two of them was covered with bottles. "The point is," said Crawley, the point is, he tried to focus on Aziraphale. "The point is," and he said, and tried to think of a point. "The point I'm trying to make," he said, brightening, "is dolphins. That's my point." "Kind of fish," said Aziraphale. No, said Crawley, shaking a finger. "Is mammal. Your actual mammal. Difference is," Crawley waded through the swamp of his mind and tried to remember the difference. "Difference is they mate out of water," volunteered Aziraphale. Crawley's brow furrowed. "Don't think so. Pretty sure that's not it. Something about their young... Whatever." He pulled himself together. The point is the brains." He reached for a bottle. "What about their brains?" said the angel. "Big brains, that's my point. Size of damn big brains. And then there's the whales. Brains city, take it from me. Whole damn sea full of brains." "Kraken," said Aziraphale, staring moodily into his glass. Crowley gave him the long, cool look of someone who has just had a girder dropped off in front of his train of thought. Great big bogger," said Aziraphale, "sleepeth beneath the thunders of the upper deep, under loads of huge and unnumbered great big seaweed, you know, supposed to rise to the surface right at the end when the sea boils." "Yeah?" "Fact." "There you are, then," said Crawley, sitting back. "Whole sea bubbling, poor old dolphins, so much seafood gumbo, no one giving a damn. Same with gorillas. Whoops, they say, sky's gone all red, stars crashing to the ground. What are they putting in bananas these days? And then, they make nest, you know, gorillas," said the angel, pouring another drink and managing to hit the glass on the third go. "Nah, God's truth, saw a film. Nests." "That's birds," said Crawley. "Nest," insisted Aziraphale. Crowley decided not to argue the point. "There you are, then," he said. "All creatures great and small. Great and small. Lots of them with brains. And then, bazam! And you're part of it." But you're part of it," said Aziraphale. "You tempt people. You're good at it." Crowley thumped his glass on the table. "That's different. They don't have to say yes. That's the ineffable bit, right? Your side made it up. You've got to keep testing people, but not to destruction." All right. I don't like it any more than you do, but I told you. I can't not do what I'm told. I'm an angel." "There's no theaters in heaven," said Crawley. "And very few films." Don't you try to tempt me, said Aziraphale wretchedly. I know you, you old serpent. Just you think about it, said Crawley relentlessly. You know what eternity is? You know what eternity is? I mean, do you know what eternity is? There's this high mountain sea, a mile high, at the end of the universe, and every 1,000 years there's this little bird. What little bird? Said Aziraphale suspiciously. This little bird I'm talking about, and every 1,000 years. The same bird every 1,000 years? Crawley hesitated. Yeah, he said. Bloody ancient bird, then. Okay, and every 1,000 years this bird limps, flies all the way to this mountain and sharpens its beak. Hold on, you can't do that. Between here and the end of the universe, there's loads of... The angel waved a hand expansively, if a little unsteadily. Loads of bugger all, dear boy. But it gets that anyway, Crawley persevered. How? It doesn't matter. It could use a spaceship, said the angel. Crawley sighed a bit. Yeah, he said. If you like, any way, this bird... Only, it is the end of the universe we're talking about, said Aziraphale. So it'd have to be one of those spaceships where your descendants are the ones who get out on the other end. You have to tell your descendants, you say, when you get to the mountain, you've got to... He hesitated. What have they got to do? Sharpen its beak on the mountain, said Crawley, and then it flies back in the spaceship. And after 1,000 years it goes and does it all over again, said Crawley quickly. There was a moment of drunken silence. Seems a lot of effort just to sharpen a beak, mused Aziraphale. Listen, said Crawley urgently. The point is that when the bird has won the mountain down to nothing, right then... Aziraphale opened his mouth. Crawley just knew he was going to make some point about the relative hardness of birds' beaks and granite mountains and plunged on quickly. Then you still won't have finished watching The Sound of Music. Aziraphale froze. And you'll enjoy it, Crawley said relentlessly. You really will. My dear boy, you won't have a choice. Listen. Heaven has no taste. Now, and not one single sushi restaurant. A lot of pain crossed the angel's suddenly very serious face. I can't cope with this while I'm drunk, he said. I'm going to sober up. Me too. They both winced as the alcohol left their bloodstreams and sat up a bit more neatly. Aziraphale straightened his tie. I can't interfere with divine plans, he croaked. Crawley looked speculatively into his glass and then filled it again. What about diabolical ones? He said. Pardon? Well, it's got to be a diabolical plan, hasn't it? We're doing it, my side. Ah, but it's all part of the overall divine plan, said Aziraphale. Your side can't do anything without it being part of the ineffable divine plan, he added with a trace of smugness. You wish. No, that's the... Aziraphale snapped his fingers irritably. The thing. What do you call it in your colorful idiom? The line at the bottom? The bottom line? Yes, that's it. Well, if you're sure, said Crawley. No doubt about it. Crawley looked up slyly. Then you can't be certain, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't be certain that thwarting it isn't part of the divine plan too. I mean, you're supposed to thwart the wiles of the evil one at every turn, aren't you? Aziraphale hesitated. There is that, yes. You see a wile, you thwart. Am I right? Broadly. Actually, I encourage humans to do the actual thwarting. Because of the ineffability, you understand? Right. So all you've got to do is thwart. Because if I know anything, said Crawley urgently, it's that the birth is just the start. It's the upbringing that's important. It's the influences. Otherwise, the child will never learn to use its powers. He hesitated. At least, not necessarily as intended. Certainly our side won't mind me thwarting you, said Aziraphale thoughtfully. They won't mind that at all. Right, it'd be a real feather in your wing. Crawley gave the angel an encouraging smile. What will happen to the child if it doesn't get a satanic upbringing, though? Said Aziraphale. Probably nothing. It'll never know. But genetics? Don't tell me from genetics. What have they got to do with it? Said Crawley. Look at Satan. Created as an angel, grows up to be the great adversary. Hey, if you're going to go on about genetics, you might as well say the kid will grow up to be an angel. After all, his father was really big in heaven in the old days. Saying he'll grow up to be a demon just because his dad became one is like saying a mouse with its tail cut off will give birth to tailless mice. No, upbringing is everything. Take it from me. And without unopposed satanic influences, well, at worst, hell will have to start all over again. And the earth gets at least another 11 years. That's got to be worth something, hasn't it? Now Aziraphale was looking thoughtful again. You're saying the child isn't evil of itself? He asked slowly. Potentially evil, potentially good too, I suppose. Just this huge, powerful potentiality waiting to be shaped, said Crawley. He shrugged. Anyway, why are we talking about this good and evil? They're just names for sides. We know that. I suppose it's got to be worth a try, said the angel. Crowley nodded encouragingly. Agreed, said the demon, holding out his hand. The angel shook it cautiously. It'll certainly be more interesting than Saint, he said. And it'll be for the child's own good in the long run, said Crawley. We'll be godfathers, sort of, overseeing his religious upbringing, you might say. Aziraphale beamed. You know, I've never really thought about that, he said. Godfathers. Well, I'll be damned. It's not too bad, said Crawley, when you get used to it.